Hey, everybody, it's Natalie Bencivenga, and welcome to another edition of Facts Over Fear. Now, if there's one thing for certain, if you are lucky, you are going to age. Every day across the United States, 12,000 people are going to turn 65 years old. And here in Western Pennsylvania, our region specifically, we are the second oldest in the country, just after Palm Beach, Florida. But unfortunately, older populations are often disregarded, forgotten, or even really discriminated against in the workplace and elsewhere. But one local organization, Age Friendly Greater Pittsburgh, is on a mission to change that. Joining me today is Laura Poskin, the executive director, who is here to share more about their work and a new exhibit that showcases the value of an age friendly region. Laura, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I couldn't have said any of that better myself.
I appreciate that. Before we kick things off and learn a little bit more about the exhibition, I just wanted to make this clear that this is a partnership, a paid partnership between us, because your team reached out to me and our missions and values really do align. We want to talk a little bit about ways in which we can bridge gaps between people and bring communities together. So, can you talk a little bit first about the mission of Age Friendly Greater Pittsburgh?
Age Friendly Greater Pittsburgh, we are all about making our region more inclusive and respectful of all ages. So we're thinking a lot about the built environment, so the physical features of our environment, transportation,
Mhm.
housing, and then also the social features of our environment and opportunities for people across their lifetime. You mentioned opportunities to work. 100%. The fastest growing segment of our workforce is actually people 65 and older, but
Wow.
it's usually not talked about. So we're all about trying to make our region more inclusive, which means like if it's made better for older adults, it's actually going to be better for everyone.
Mhm.
If a sidewalk is better for someone who happens to be 86 and using a mobility device, it's going to be better for a new parent. It's going to be better who's pushing a stroller, perhaps.
Mhm.
It's going to be better for my 3-year old. It's going to be better for me at 42.
Mhm.
Like, it's this idea of universal design and how we can take that really into the whole world and to where we live.
And that's really important. I'm really glad that we're kind of kicking this off looking at something as simple as a sidewalk design because to me, all of these things interconnect and they interweave. And when we're looking at work and we're looking at housing and healthcare, no matter which group you're talking to, whether it's age demographics or race or gender, everybody is grappling with just having basic needs met. So, can you talk a little bit about what are some of the needs that you're hearing from this population that need to be addressed and that could be addressed with policy change or with some just creative thinking?
Well, so many different things come up when we talk about making the community age friendly. Like it's a
Hmm.
really big concept. But I would say housing comes up all the time. We want to have options for housing across our lifetime. So, some of the things that we've been doing, we've been alongside our partners to really push for new options. We are so excited. There's going to be two new housing options that are going to be available very soon. One that's called the Mosaic Apartments, that's an LGBTQ plus high rise, like specific to LGBTQ plus older adults.
Hmm.
It's going to be in Oakland, which we love because known as an area that has younger students. We think it's a great opportunity for generations to cross paths. Another really cool housing development that is underway is the Rachel Carson Eco Village, which is co-housing, just really intentional community behind housing design. So yeah, housing comes up a lot. Transportation is another space. When there were potential cuts to PRT and to access, we were at the table. We were providing testimony about just how important it is for people to be able to get around their community. Like it's kind of a simple idea, this idea that you should be able to have access to life, your whole life. But oftentimes when people think about aging in place, they just think about like their four walls. You want to have access to your community. You want to be able to age in community alongside the people that you care about. And so that's really what we're after. And the age inclusion campaign that we're working on is really trying to find common ground between different generations and knowing, like you said, that
Mhm.
we're kind of all after the same thing. And we're stronger when we understand one another as people. But when we actually know one another, those stereotypes kind of go out the window. So
Yeah.
that's what our age inclusion campaign is all about that we're
And I
working on.
think that's a really important component to this is the social determinants of health because we know that community really is like the number one factor is having people in your life to connect to above everything else. That's the thing that can really determine like quality of life for a lot of people. And I think because we're living and existing in a world that has become more and more isolated across demographics, it's really important to acknowledge how necessary we are to each other's survival and this idea that people are aging differently now. This isn't, 50 years ago or 100 years ago where the life expectancy wasn't even what it is today. And so now that people are growing and experiencing life differently, I would think you get these chapters where you're like, okay, my life looks different now, but I still have so much more I want to write and do. And so this idea of living with a sense of independence and dignity and also in community I think just benefits everyone, right?
It does. I mean, I've had friendships with older people that
Yeah.
I think have given more to my life than I've probably given to their lives.
It's that ripple effect where someone really impacts you, but then you can turn around and share what they shared, and it becomes this oral history of support that we give one another. And I wanted to touch on a few things from your website. By 2035, older adults are projected to outnumber children in the United States, which is
Yep.
really fascinating and not something I think a lot of people are aware of. And it really speaks to sort of our pipeline of labor and how we're going to handle sort of all of these transitions of generations. And that Black men, specifically in our region, can expect to live to age 64, while white women expect to live to age 78, which was also very astounding to me in terms of just the space between those ages. I mean, my goodness, that's a decade and a
More than a
half.
decade, more
That's
than, yeah.
that's huge. That's a huge amount of time. Can you speak to a little bit of how gender and race interplay with age and ageism in this region?
Right. So when you're 75, for example, you're
Hmm.
not just a 70, you're not just your age, of
Right,
course.
right.
You might be 75-year-old Black woman who's
Hmm.
LGBTQ plus, who,
Right.
like the cards are stacked. Everybody's
Yes,
cards are stacked differently.
yes.
And we know that it's so important to not only point that out
Hmm.
actively, like it's on our website, it's in every presentation that we do, but then actively work to change that across the life course.
Hmm.
Because it's also not like something that, people age their whole lives
Right.
and the opportunities that they have across their lifetime for access to food right now, access to healthcare, access to education, access to generational wealth, like all of these things stack against one another. And so we really, want to make sure that we're working with communities who are perhaps overburdened,
Yeah.
under-resourced. Like certainly we work across the county, but we make sure to focus our work when we can in areas that might need it most.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that it's interesting to think about, yes, we are older, and yes, we're aging, and who really has access to that longevity,
Yeah.
right?
That's why I was really fascinated by this picture, this campaign that you're doing, because to me, the way to combat all of these things is to show representation and to
Yep.
show people
Yep.
existing and thriving as who they are in all of the ways that they are. And to your point, that comes from all different perspectives on gender and gender identity and race and age within age, right? So
Right.
you can be 50s and 60s or 80s and 90s and beyond and still living a very full life. And I think having positive images of people living and succeeding at living is very affirming to all of us, especially
Right.
in times like this, I think.
I think so too. Centerpiece of the campaign, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
is our age inclusive photo bank.
Mm-hmm.
So on our website, we have 150 photos that are free to download and
Mm-hmm.
use in your next presentation and your next flyer on your website to refresh, what aging looks like. We wanted to make sure, because a picture is worth a thousand words, that people
Mm-hmm.
have access to photos that really depict aging as we know it. We
Mm-hmm.
have all of these photos free to download. We've had people from Hawaii to Maine to the UK have been downloading these photos and using them in the work that they do. Yeah, they might not be working in Pittsburgh, but they're also more universal and people can
Yeah.
use them. And we also have them along with some other content featured at the August Wilson Center until February 1st. So, what's really fun, and my kids loved it, is that we have retro phones, which are basically just phones that we knew growing up, where you pick them
Oh
up.
God.
You actually pick up a phone
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and then you press a button. So you press number 4 or
Mm-hmm.
something, and you can listen to Bernadette in Beachview, or
Uh-huh.
pick it up and hear her story. And I think that act of listening,
Yeah.
that act of connecting, just as you said, at a time when
Mm.
so many of us feel disconnected, disempowered, feeling like
Yeah.
they can't, we need to take it local. We need to look around and
Mm.
see our neighbors for the people that they are, and see our neighborhoods as a place where we all can grow across our lifetimes. And so that the exhibition, it just really underscores that. And it's a really accessible exhibition too. You can kind of pop into August Wilson
Mm-hmm.
Center, or if you're there for another event, like just check it out.
Yeah.
It will be up until February 1st.
If you're not in the Pittsburgh region and you still want to learn about age-friendly Greater Pittsburgh, if you want to look at any of the photos and utilize them for your own work, I love this whole series because it is so life-affirming and it frames aging in a very positive way because it is a positive thing. It is a privilege and a gift to grow each and every year and be a part of community. So, Laura, if people want to learn more about the organization or check out any of the photos online, where can they go?
They can go to agefriendlypgh.org.
Awesome. Laura, thank you so much for being in conversation with me today as a part of my Facts Over Fear interview series. And as always, everyone, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Hey everybody, it's Natalie Bencivenga, and I am back. So after chatting with Laura, I wanted to interview someone who was part of the Picture This campaign and learn more about why they wanted to be in on that experience. So please help me welcome Hazel Leroy. She is a former professor, a performer, someone who is aging powerfully and gracefully. Hazel joins me today to share more about her work with this project and, of course, her story. So thanks so much for joining me, Hazel.
Thank you, Natalie. It's a pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from Pittsburgh? What's your background?
Well, I came to Pittsburgh in 1984
Mhm.
to work on my doctorate at the University of Pittsburgh. I got my doctorate in theater history. And then one thing led to another. I met a nice man, and we married, and I had my son. I'm an army brat. I was used to moving every year, every 2 years until I got into college. And then I would just move on my own every year.
Mhm.
So this living in Pittsburgh since 1984 is the longest I've lived anywhere in my life.
Oh, wow. So, what was it about Pittsburgh that made you want to really call it your home?
It's the people.
Mm.
What an incredible incredible group of people we have here.
Mhm.
Um, Talented, some are transplants, some are not. The history is incredible to me. I I may be a theater historian, but I love labor history, and
Mm.
we are sitting in the catbird seat for labor history. Um, I am a proud member of United Steelworkers Local 1088. It was a dream to be here.
Mhm.
Um, and just the people. I
Mhm.
have so many people in so many different populations. It's been wonderful.
I think that's what's so interesting about Pittsburgh. I mean, I know people say it's a city, but I always think of it as more of like a big town because there do seem to be so many connections and connectors between people. And that's one of the things I've always loved about it. So, how did you get involved with age-friendly Greater Pittsburgh? Was it through some of your friendship connections or was
It
it
was
just happenstance?
Workhorse Collaborative.
Oh, okay.
It was Emily and Jackie and the gang at Workhorse Collaborative. They saw this campaign
Hmm.
and they thought about me and my pal Shannon.
Oh.
And Shannon is half my age.
Hmm. Hmm.
And Shannon and I have been friends for she'll we argue about what date it was, but oh, nigh on to 11 years now.
Wow.
Um, and we met through theater because she's a theater maker, I'm a theater maker. She says that I walked up to her and said, just spontaneously started talking to her about Alfred Jarry,
Mm.
a French dramatist from the 19th and early 20th century that we both love. I didn't, but she can remember it any way she wants. But we did we she always jokes that I dated Alfred Jarry, who died I think in 1904,
Oh,
or maybe even 1894. I
oh
can't
my
remember.
goodness.
But that's how we just struck up a friendship. Really, in our case, age doesn't make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I love that. I think intergenerational friendships are so important. Like, I think of some of the people in my life who are 20 to 40 years older than me, and I'm in my early 40s now, so I'm sort of in that in between where I now have friends that are 15 years younger than me as well, and how much you learn about yourself and about other people when you get out of sort of your age range, your cocoon, so to speak. What's something that being friends with a much younger person has taught you about yourself, and what's something that you feel like you've been able to teach them?
well, first of all, there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that even you, as young as you are, you will know that the people in their 20s are knowledgeable about things that I, well, and maybe you too,
Hmm.
never even considered.
Absolutely.
Um, Technological changes, how to stay abreast of the news in a the most efficient way possible,
Mhm.
without having to wade through nonsense. Um, and I always thought that I was a very accepting person.
Mhm.
My students and my younger friends have taught me more about acceptance than I thought was possible,
Mhm.
um, including allowing people who have different viewpoints than mine
Mhm.
to go ahead and have those viewpoints.
Mhm.
Um, that's a very hard lesson to learn, something that I think younger people by necessity have had to learn.
Mhm.
And, it's not comfortable all the time.
Mhm.
I would like to sometimes go in and say, no, 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 you're wrong, wrong, wrong. But maybe not.
Maybe not.
And who am I to say?
My grandmother and I, we were very, very close. And there was always this idea of just like, let it go, like, let it be. Like, you don't have to control everything, you know? And I do think as you get older, you do learn that. And if you're lucky, but those are kind of the little gifts if you're listening to the people outside, like I said, of your little cocoon that you can really take with you and you know carry with you as you move forward.
And it's hard for anyone at
Yeah.
any age. I'm terrible. I'm fond of saying I hate my demographic because of some people who are very intractable.
Hmm.
That's not true. I don't hate everyone in my age range, but I know that it's the hardest lesson is to say, huh, that's your opinion. I
Yeah.
don't have any control about that over that. And so that's great.
Yeah,
And
that's
walk
great.
away and not have to argue. So it's a matter of letting go and letting other people
Hmm.
be what
Mm,
they are.
mm. I
Reach
think
out.
I think that's such an important component of all of this with what age-friendly Greater Pittsburgh is doing with this picture, this campaign, is this idea of connection through representation and visibility. So when you think about the experience of older people, a lot of times I think, and Laura had mentioned this in the interview I did with her, we get like very specific imagery around aging. And then of course you couple that with this very ageist, you know, world that we live in where everyone has to look, you know, 35 forever, right? So, how do you grapple with those two spaces and what do you want people to understand about aging?
Well, Betty Davis said it.
Hmm.
Getting old isn't for sissies.
That's right.
So you can bet that the older person that you're talking to is probably pretty tough,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're frail.
What are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to?
Hmm.
Oh my. I can't wait to see what the kiddos are going to do next.
Mm. The curiosity.
They're always doing something new and different.
Hmm.
And we can learn from that, we can share to that, we can contribute to that. When you're working on a project, if you're a younger person, you might want to get feedback from somebody who did it
Hmm.
earlier,
Hmm.
because not just a theater historian, but
Hmm.
you know, someone who is an artist was making art before you were born. It's just a good idea to keep in touch
Hmm.
that way. Share ideas.
Yeah.
You can,
Mm.
you know, expand horizons, not repeat the same mistakes.
Wouldn't that be something, Hazel?
Oh yeah,
If we
well,
could figure that one out.
I if we can figure it out, that'll be great.
That'll be great. As we wrap up this conversation, what's your favorite thing, or what's the most beautiful thing about getting older?
The best thing I can think of about getting older is I don't care.
Mm,
This is what it is.
mm, I love that.
And if I try to appear to be what I'm not,
Mm,
if I try to appear to be younger, I'm going to look old.
mm. Oh, that's so
So
real.
just be comfortable with yourself. You are sufficient
Mm,
unto yourself. And you don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations.
yeah. Oh, words to live by. Hazel Leroy, thank you so much for being in community with me tonight and for sharing your story and your connection to age friendly Greater Pittsburgh. I so appreciate you and thank you so much.
Natalie, it has been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.